A journey of 600 inches. The street below was empty. "I wish we could go out to play," said Paul. "We can't. Not yet," said Maisie. She looked outside, then inside. "You know, it's actually very big in here." Paul turned around and made a funny face. It didn't look very big to him. "Let's measure it and see," said Maisie. Paul carefully measured the distance from the door to the balcony. "It's 50 rulers long." Maisie said, "I know the ruler is 1 foot long, so it is 50 feet from the door to the balcony." That sounded pretty big to them. "Let's see what that is in inches," said Maisie. "The ruler is 12 inches. 50 times 12 makes 600 inches. That sounded much bigger. "Wow!" said Paul, who had only just learned to count to 100. "If we were ants, this would be as big as the world." As soon as he spoke, the floorboards started to stretch, the ceiling began to rise, and the plant on the table grew into a jungle. "What's happening?" asked Maisie. "I don't know. Is it magic?" said Paul. "Whatever it is, it's a problem," said Maisie, "because Aunt Michelle will be here with lunch any minute." Lunch was 600 inches away. How on earth would they get to it? Paul drew a map and asked Maisie to write the words. Then they set off. First, they went to see the Mouse King. The only car in their home was parked in his castle. "Welcome," said the Mouse King. "I'm giving masks to my subjects. Would you like one?" "We don't need masks," said Maisie, "but would you be willing to lend us your car?" "It would be my honor," said the Mouse King. He spun around with delight. With a wave of his hand, he asked Mr. Frog to fetch the car. But the car was missing a wheel. "You could try your luck at Lost Toy Park," said the Mouse King. "When things go missing, that's usually where they turn up." Lost Toy Park? Paul and Maisie looked at each other. It wasn't on their map. "It's over there," said the Mouse King. Paul and Maisie found Lost Toy Park under the sofa. It was covered in dust. "Achoo! My wooden block!" cried Paul. "Achoo! The missing piece from my puzzle!" cried Maisie. They saw a sock, a marble, a hair clip. Paul picked up the hair clip. "It smells like Mom," he said. Maisie breathed deeply. "Yes, that's Mom's smell." They hadn't seen Mom for 10 days. They stood quietly, holding the hair clip. They were scared they might forget her smell. Not far from where they found the hair clip was the wheel for the little car. They pulled it up and rolled it back to the castle. It took a while to fit the wheel back on the car. Dad would have fixed it in an instant, but Dad wasn't there. He and Mom were in the hospital and couldn't come home. Maisie and Paul had to do a lot of things for themselves now. "It's not just fixing the wheel," said Maisie, thinking about making beds, bath time. Eventually, they managed to put the wheel on the car like Dad would have done. Paul put the hair clip in the back seat so Mom's smell would be with them wherever they went, just like in their real car. The wheel was still a bit wobbly, and it was a bumpy ride, but it was faster than walking. As they drove through Wooden Leg Forest, they heard music. Dad always called them at this time. Paul climbed up the table leg. He was good at climbing. He didn't wait for Maisie. Dad's voice sounded strained and short of breath, but it was Dad's voice, Dad's wonderful voice. "Dad, can you hear me? We've shrunk." Paul jumped about on the table. "The living room is enormous. It's 600 inches. "That's amazing," said Dad. "Have you had your lunch yet?" "We're just going to eat now," said Maisie, trying to sound grown up. "We're fine, Dad. I sweep the floor every day and make the beds and make sure Paul washes properly." "No, she doesn't," laughed Paul. "She doesn't make the beds at all." "I hope you're helping your sister and Aunt Michelle," said Dad. "Of course," said Paul. "We have to help each other." Dad's voice went quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Do your best, both of you. It will soon be spring, and then Mom and I will be home." After they hung up, it felt very quiet at home. "I miss Mom," said Paul quietly. "They'll be back as soon as they can," Maisie reassured him, holding back her tears. "Hold on to your face mask like this and fly," said Maisie. Paul gripped both ends of his mask and jumped. They glided from the table to the floor. "This is fun," said Paul in midair, forgetting that he felt sad. They landed in the maze of shoes. "Be careful," said Maisie. "You too," said Paul. He was a big boy now. "Maisie! Paul! Are you there?" It was Aunt Michelle's voice from the front door. She had been out helping people who had to isolate at home. Yes, we're here," said Maisie. "I have your lunch, and I want to make sure everything is okay before I head back out," Aunt Michelle said. "We're just coming to get it," said Paul. "Is everything else okay?" "Yes." "Then I'll be back later." "Thank you, Aunt Michelle." Maisie and Paul pushed the door as hard as they could. Whoosh! Fresh air flooded in. Maisie and Paul were tall again, and the world was the same as it had always been. They took the lunch Aunt Michelle brought them to the table. Maisie noticed tiny green shoots in the flower pot. "Look, Paul, the marigold seeds are sprouting." That meant it was already spring. Mom and Dad would be home soon.